Let's say you have a smartphone and you look at your smartphone and it's 11:11 every day almost, or 12:12, or 14:14. So very often you might see repeating numbers, and it happens to a lot of people. And what it actually means. So basically what it means is that you are following your path. This is an indication that you are on the right track, because basically everything is fractal, right? So symbols, this is a form of symbol, they often reflect patterns, they often reflect reality. So this is Mike Sigula from TruthTheory.com, and welcome to another episode of True Spirituality. This is my series on metaphysics, esotericism, mysticism, and spirituality. And if you are new here, please subscribe, because this is already episode 29. So if this is your first episode, I suggest to go to youtube.com/TruthTheory, and there is a playlist there called True Spirituality, where you can watch almost all the episodes. I think the couple of first ones, I'm not sure if I included them, the quality wasn't that good, but most of the content is on YouTube. So youtube.com/TruthTheory if you want to watch all the episodes. And this series, True Spirituality, is basically covering all sorts of very fascinating topics. Anything from meditation to psychedelics, consciousness, higher self, karma, reincarnation, starseeds, hermetic philosophy, mysticism, practices, teachings, etc. So if you like these kind of subjects, you're gonna definitely enjoy this series. So please subscribe. And as always, before we're gonna start, please check out patreon.com/TruthTheory and consider becoming a supporter so I can create more content. When you are on Patreon, you can send me direct messages, for example, and send me suggestions for some of the topics that you want me to cover. Sometimes I'm engaging there as well, so I'm answering people's questions directly, things like that. And we can only create content because of help of people such as yourself. So please consider becoming a supporter. Go to patreon.com/TruthTheory. And if you want to work with me on one-to-one basis, I'm doing mentoring and coaching online. So go to truththeory.com/coaching and have a look what's going on there. Initial consultations free of charge, so you have nothing to lose. And now let's talk about today's topic. So seeing number sequences like 11:11, for example, right? What it means. So what happens is some people sometimes might see repetitive numbers. For example, you look at your clock, watch, let's say you have a smartphone and you look at your smartphone and it's 11:11 every day almost, or 12:12, or 14:14. So very often you might see repeating numbers, and it happens to a lot of people. And what it actually means. So basically what it means is that you are following your path. This is an indication that you are on the right track, because basically everything is fractal, right? So symbols, this is a form of symbol, they often reflect patterns, they often reflect reality. So if you are following your path, and what it means is basically when you come here, when you incarnate on earth, you have a lot of predispositions to achieve some goals. You know, your body type, your background, genetics, family background, you know, country you were born in, your gifts, your talents, everything. All these different factors in a way are designed so you can achieve specific goals. And before we incarnate, we set up some kind of a soul plan, which is basically a kind of a path you want to take in life. kind of goals you want to achieve. And you know, when you are born and all these kind of things, you forget, and then naturally kind of things are pushing you towards this direction. So how do you know if you are on your soul plan? Typically things that excite you are a good indication of that, right? Because I'm not talking about getting excited by getting drunk or, you know, things like that. I'm talking about getting excited because you are following some kind of purpose, like career or whatever things you're doing that you like to do. If you're, let's say, an athlete, you know, that could be something that excites you. So if you are following your soul plan and you are doing on earth what you're supposed to be doing, you might start getting more in a synchronistic flow, and numbers like 11, 11, 12, 12, 12, 21, whatever, these kind of numbers can reflect that. It's very simple. A like attracts a like. So you are in a synchronistic flow and you attract synchronistic symbolism, basically. You could think about it this way, right? So if you see like every day some kind of numbers like that, especially, you know, when you look at your phone and watch, whatever, that's a good sign. That means you are following your path. Not every path is easy. Doesn't mean there are no challenges. Everyone has challenges. Everyone's path is unique, but that's a good sign overall that you are kind of fulfilling your plan and doing things according to your soul plan and your higher self. That's one thing. Now, there is a second area where some people might see repetitive numbers, but this is a little bit different. So the first thing could be, for example, with the most common is, you know, you see time. You check your clock every day, a couple of times a day, and you see these repetitive numbers, these synchronistic numbers. But another thing is sometimes we see number sequences, for example, in different cases or in different scenarios. So let's say you go to a restaurant and the bill is $44.44, for example. Or you went to a supermarket, you bought your groceries, and it's again 44, something like that, for example, right? Or you just finished having a conversation with someone and it's exactly 44 minutes long. 44 is an example, could be 6969, 84, 444, depends, 666 sometimes. This is a little bit different. And this typically gonna be happening, the numbers might appear in different formats, in different circumstances. Sometimes it might be a number plate, you see a car in front of you that has repetitive numbers. Sometimes, like I said, just a bill, things like that, right? So for example, every number has a frequency because everything is fractal, and numbers really have some characteristics. So for example, I just mentioned 444, what it means. 4 is the end of a cycle, right? 4 seasons, for example. 4th season, winter, is when things kind of end, and then you have another cycle starting with spring. Even 4th month is April, and this is where you kind of have transition from winter to spring, right? So again, every cycle, everything that ends is the beginning of something else new. That's just how events flow. I've even heard that Chinese think that 4 is a negative number, something like that. It really depends what it means. Typically, if you see, for example, throughout one day or a couple of days in a row, you start seeing 4s everywhere, 444, whatever, something like that. Typically, it could mean that something ends, some kind of thing, right? Let me give you an example of that. Like I said, everything is fractal, and numbers just kind of resonate with events or situations. You know, there are kind of symbols to different things, right? So for example, I had a job years ago. I was working as a bartender for a couple of years in this restaurant, and the day I came to give my resignation, which wasn't planned or anything like that, I didn't plan exactly to do it on that day, was actually 4th of April 2014. And a funny thing, I came around 4 p.m. So 44144, right? That was actually, I had this job for many years. So the more important things, the more fractal symbols reflect things, right? Because everything, think about the universe as this gigantic clock. One thing is changing and other things start reflecting the change. And this is an example of reflection of that change. For me, that was a big end of something, and kind of symbolically these things were reflecting that, for example, right? Okay, so we're talking about 4 now. 5. Sometimes you see 555 or something like that. Let's say you wake up, it's 5:55 or whatever, or on the number plate. 5 generally means progress, because after one cycle ended, which is 4, the new cycle starts, right? And everything is constant cycles, constant cause and effect. One thing ends, the other starts in the same time. So 5 generally means some kind of progress, right? So for example, generally if you see 555 like throughout the day or whatever, that's probably a good sign. That means you are moving forward. 6. Okay, 6, in my opinion, 6 is kind of the opposite to 9, right? Looks like 9 upside down, and it represents negative polarity, right? And in my opinion, 6 is not a good symbol because it represents moving backwards or some kind of a distraction. 9 represents the highest single digit, so it represents the culmination going up. 6 is the opposite, represents the other way around. It could mean, for example, where we're talking about, the number of the beast 666, that could mean that they are negatively polarized, right? These entities are kind of evolving backwards in negative, regressing. So that's why you could say their number is 666, for example. Or because symbols often reflect things, let's pick a date. 1666, Great Fire of London. Great Fire of London is a destruction, right? Fire, the city burned, it was a destruction. So this is what I'm talking about. 6 can represent some kind of destruction going down. Sometimes you might see 6 and 9 together, 6969, for example. So again, everything is symbolic, everything is fractal. So 9 in a way represents pulling up, 6 represents pulling down, so it's kind of like a split. 2 forces going different direction. So maybe when you see that, something in your life is kind of indicating that this is the blueprint, this is the pattern, whatever it is, maybe it's a split from a relationship, for example, or some event that is disrupting relationship or something like that. It's very, very difficult to talk about these things without understanding individual cases, but I'm just giving you some kind of general ideas here. So in my opinion, if you see a lot of 6 9s or 666 somewhere, that's not a good sign. So let's move into another one. 7, if you see 777 sometimes or whatever, or 7 and 9 sometimes, that's a good indication. 7 chakras, 7 colors of the rainbow, all these different things. 7 is a considered very important number because it's a number of completion, and it's also a very spiritual number. It could represent like gaining some wisdom or wherever, things like that. So it's a good number for sure if you start seeing a lot of 777, for example, or 7 and 9, sometimes they come together. Okay, 8, it's again, everything is dualistic. You have 4 and 4 together, it's 8. That's why even it looks like that, because it's a kind of infinity. It represents 2 opposite polarities. So typically it's the end of something, right? And same like 4, sometimes it's the end of a full cycle. 4 would be the end of half of the cycle, let's say, and then the other opposite polarity, and together it's 8. Kind of depends. Sometimes you might see 4 and 8 together. It could mean like 8484, something like that. It could mean the end of something again. But generally, in most cases, if you see 888, whatever, it's either again some kind of end. Sometimes also think about, because it's a symbol, right? So 8 is like going back, like infinity, right? Kind of getting back to the same point. So for example, you haven't seen a friend for a long time and suddenly you bump into this friend and just before you paid $8.88 somewhere, for example. So this is an example. Now 9, overall good number, 9, the highest single digit. 9 represents the peak, culmination. So if you see a lot of 9s, that's a good sign, I think. That's like, you're achieving some kind of level of peak, culmination, etc. So again, this is very broad, it depends on many things, but generally remember that if you start seeing repetitive numbers every day when you look at your phone or clock or watch, whatever, that's a good indication. That means you are following your soul plan, you are kind of following your purpose. Even if the life doesn't seem like that often, sometimes there is higher order and you might think, oh, I'm struggling, but maybe this is for something bigger and you're actually doing the right thing. And if you, for example, have days, or sometimes it can be few days or longer, when you have some kind of indications in forms of these repetitive numbers like 444, 8484, whatever, every single means a little bit different things. So that's quite different. These two are different. So let me know, what do you think about this video, or if you see repetitive numbers, what do you think they mean for you? If anything what I said makes sense, let me know. If it resonates as well, please let us know in the comments below. Please support this work at patreon.com/TruthTheory and check out my coaching page, truththeory.com/coaching. And thank you for checking out this episode of True Spirituality. Until next time.